Broadcasting live from the reflecting pool on the plain of Lorwyn, this is Tap Tap Concede. Hey everybody, welcome to Tap Tap Concede. I'm James. This is
Alex.
This is
Cameron.
Yeah, you got it.
You're gonna
Okay,
be like
got there.
Scoop.
You got it. And today we're talking about brewing.
Yeah.
Not any specific deck, that is, but just the idea of brewing and how mainly these two guys, because they are the brewers of the crew, go about coming up with the decks that they play. But first,
Oh yes.
we must crack a pack. So I'm going to roll this giant dice.
Singular
And I
is
rolled
die.
seven. And I rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh,
Ooh.
Mubus.
Wait. Yes, that is correct. A pack of Mirrodin Besieged, but the Mirren faction pack
Oh,
Yeah, from the pre-release.
from the pre-release. And this
Wow.
comes from Mike from PAX East.
Ooh.
thank
So,
you, Mike.
Mike, thank you so much
So
for
what are we hoping to
this
get
to
in
you.
here?
I really don't
I
know.
don't remember.
But first up
Ooh.
is Koth's Courier.
Ta-da.
1 red for a 2/3, and it has Forest Walk, and it's a human rogue.
Because
It seems fine.
note carrier
Yeah.
through the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, good flavor.
Nobody's
I mean,
gonna
it's
find
probably an adequate performer.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
2/3 for 3 is,
Didn't we open the
fine.
Phyrexian faction pack a couple of weeks ago and come across the Phyrexian equivalent of this guy?
I think so. I really don't remember, though.
Where it was Gliss's emissary or Gliss's courier?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. But, yeah,
Well-
this guy seems fine.
Yeah.
Copper Carapace.
Shang.
1 colorless mana for an artifact. It's an equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and can't block. And its equip cost is 3.
I mean, it's like it's not good equipment, but
No.
it's in limited. Maybe it's fine.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
limited it was fine. It came down on turn 1, and then on you could put this on your your 2-drop, and all of a sudden it has +2/+2. It was okay. It was
Yeah.
definitely not anything to write home about. Though,
Yeah, I guess
so.
you put this on a bear turn 3 and suddenly you're back in the game.
Yeah,
I like that this
absolutely.
mech looks like it's armed with a fan and some sort of wheel.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a saw actually.
Oh, okay.
It's hard to
The
see the
old fan
blades.
saw.
but
Oh, it
there's-
is.
there's
Yeah, it
saws
is.
there.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is what you would. Oh, it's a logging mech.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very similar
There we
to
go.
What are they in World
in
of Warcraft?
in the
Hey,
the
can
Goblin.
you
Goblin-
imagine the kind of like it must be tungsten carbide to get through those like metal trees?
No, yeah. I was about to bring that up, like to go through the tangle, right?
Cool. Next up, Mirren Spy. 2 and a blue for a 1/3 flying drone. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, you may untap target creature. I mean, it certainly, there were a lot of artifact creatures
Yeah, there's a lot
running
of
around, but 1/3 for 3 it's super
Man.
unexciting.
I
Yeah.
want to be able to like cast this into like do like a Mox Opal into this guy to untap a
mana.
like a mana dork.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah, you can.
And then you would just cut this guy eventually, right, and play way better things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best thing you could untap in this expansion was the mirror that made 2 colorless.
Oh yeah, Superion. Or
No,
not
it
Mirror
was,
Superion, Mirror Platinum? No.
Platinum mirror.
No.
It was something.
Yeah, no,
maybe
it was,
we'll
it
get
was like
one.
an uncommon.
It was a mirror.
Yeah.
Next up is Ardent Recruit. It's a 1/1 for 1 white, and it has Metalcraft, which was the big mechanic of the set, which reads, as long as you control 3 or more artifacts, you get something cool, and in this case, it gets +2/+2.
So it's kind of a 3/3 for 1, which I think this card keeps almost making the cut in Affinity.
Well, he comes with his own like bone splitter.
Yeah,
Right?
not like Affinity in like Legacy or Modern, but like in Highlander.
Yeah.
People
Like-
have brewed this in like Esper.
The one
Very
one
little
for
color.
one with the dominant mechanic of the format to buff it is something that keeps cropping up. Like I remember a very similar card cropping up for the Boros in Guild Pact,
Mhm.
like the Boros Recruit that got like
Can you
+2
count to
+2
3?
with Battalion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Shriekhorn. Next. 1 colorless for an artifact. Enters a battlefield with 3 charge counters on it. Tap and remove a charge counter from Shriekhorn. Target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
Awkward.
Oh, this was like there was a
Milia.
mill deck in this format.
Milia.
Was there?
Milia.
Yeah.
I mean,
no,
there's
you,
a mill
you
deck.
got like a bunch of Shriekhorns because you picked them up at common, and then you hope to open like Blue Sun Zenith
Yeah.
in your
Yeah, so you just,
Scars
like-
pack, right? Or no, not
You get-
Scars in Besieged.
Yeah.
The Zeniths were in Besieged.
But it wasn't a very
Man,
good.
maybe I should put this into lantern control for Highlander.
Dear God.
Oh, Lantern
Oh,
Control
I
and
can't
Highlander,
believe
huh?
I put that deck together.
We have our legitimate first pick, I think.
Oh, boy.
Divine Offering.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
1 and a white, instant, destroy target artifact. You gain life equal to its converted mana cost.
Yep.
Yes. This card is just legit.
First
Yeah.
printed in Legends, I think, because I just picked up a copy of this spell.
Yeah, but
Sweet.
yeah, this card definitely had a home in this format.
Oh yeah, there were so many artifacts running around, and the fact that you can just destroy creature, because often it could just be a creature
Yeah,
at instant speed,
Oh yeah.
4/2, and you gain life.
yeah,
Yeah, this
It's-
is nuts.
yeah. Especially
pretty
since
good.
like most of the artifacts you were worried about were like the big donkeys at common in Besiege Limited, like
Yeah.
the 7/6s or the 6/7s,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. This card's
The
sweet.
2 golems.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so number 1 pick right now.
Yeah.
This one does not beat it though. Training Drone,
No.
Oh.
artifact creature drone, 3 colorless for a 4/4. So you're like, sweet, but it can't attack or block unless it's equipped.
That's yeah.
So currently, the only piece of equipment that we have that could do it up is the Copper Carapace. So now you play Copper Carapace on 1, Training Drone on 3, and on
Equip
turn
on
4,
you get a 6/6.
you have a 6/6. No, that's not very good.
Yeah, it doesn't
No.
seem terribly real.
Sweet 2-card combo.
Combos.
All right, get out here. Get out of here, Training Drone. Nobody likes you. Fangren Marauder, 5 and a green for a 5/5. Pretty standard for green. It's a beast. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 5 life.
Whoa.
This guy seems. I don't actually recall
Wasn't this guy kind of a house?
Yeah, I mean,
He seems like he should be a house.
it's a 5/5 for 6. That's a pretty beefy body, and artifact. Again, we've talked about it before. Artifacts are flying around in this
I
format.
bet you this guy
so-
loves spell bombs.
Oh,
Yo,
yeah.
is this the same guy who's on the art for Tainted Strike?
Maybe?
We will find
Maybe
out.
it's the same artist.
All right. Well, Paul looks that up.
Oh.
Wow, it certainly looks
Similar.
like it.
Urgh.
Next up is Koldatha Ringleader. 4 and a red for a 4/4 giant berserker. It attacks each turn if able. And it has Battle Cry, which is the other big mechanic of the set, which is whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
I like this mechanic. Not on this guy, but there's like at least 3 or 4 playable, maybe 5 playable Battlecry creatures that came
Yeah.
out of this set.
Well, there was like there was the
there's-
white rare who
Uh,
made dudes.
Oh,
Hero of Blade
Hero of
Holder.
Blade Hold.
Oh, that card's
and
insane.
Hero of Oxid Ridge,
And
which is still pretty good.
Yeah,
And
I
then
love
there
that
was
card,
like
too.
the little drone guy.
Actually, Signal Pest.
Yeah, Signal Pest.
Yeah, there's Signal Pest and Goblin War Driver.
Yeah.
Right,
And,
right.
which was a red.
and the 3/1 for 1 and a white.
Oh,
Yeah, that guy's real good.
yeah,
Mirren something or other.
Mirren.
Yeah,
Paladin?
I love
Or-
Goblin
no.
War Driver. That card was sweet.
But
Yeah,
yeah, these cards are all actually really good because it's like they're, cheap and they pump your whole team. It's like having a Lord on 2,
hmm
but it works for any creatures. So
Oh
Yeah.
man, can I just say I love the design of Mirrodin goblins.
drawing.
Yeah, they're
I
great.
love they look like Vezgig from the Dark Crystal. Where
Yes.
their entire head just like
Hinge-
hinges open.
Yeah, with the mouth, yeah.
yeah.
All right, next up, Frantic Salvage. 3 and a white, instant. Put any number of target artifact cards from your graveyard on top of your library. Draw a card.
This is that.
Oh, there was. This is usually a card in black, only it's creatures.
Yeah.
Yep.
I forget what it's called.
In black, like Grave, isn't it like Grave Purge and
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
Grave
that's the
Purge.
one.
something like that? But
This one's artifacts.
yeah.
I mean, I
Eh.
suppose like N could be 0, right? And you're just drawing a card in white and
It's a shame they didn't just reprint Argavian Find. Although no, wait, that hits enchantments as well.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, This is a good one.
Whoa.
First uncommon is Sphere of the Suns.
Oh yeah.
2 colorless for an artifact. It enters the battlefield with 3 charge counters on it. Remove a charge counter from Sphere of the Suns. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. This
know
was
why
a
this
great
is
little
good?
fixing rock.
It's 2 mana and it fixes colors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's
Real good.
fantastic. Like this has been in this sees play in I think most of the cubes that hit Magic Online. It's such great fixing.
Most of the 2 mana rocks are playable.
Mm.
Like there's not a lot that I can think of that are just really bad.
Paul?
Oh, it's also reprinted in Modern Masters 2015.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
yes.
it's, yeah.
It's like we'll just add these dimples
Also, it has
here.
great art.
It does have really cool art. Yeah. All right.
He's making a golf ball.
Steel golf. Yeah, steel
Yeah.
golf ball.
It's the golf ball. All right, next up, Treasure Mage.
Ooh.
2 and a blue for 2/2.
Oh, right.
It's a human wizard. It says when Treasure Mage enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an artifact card with converted mana cost 6 or greater. Cough, Worm Coil Engine.
Yeah.
Reveal that card and put it into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library.
People were really excited about this guy because it's the opposite end of Trinket Mage, which finds a artifact of CMC 1 or less.
Yeah.
I built like a kind of dirtly standard deck in this format that was based around this guy and Grand Architect, and it just hit things like Cage Sun and Steel Hellkite. Like it had a toolkit of one-ofs because I didn't just want to
Steel
play.
Hellkite's sweet.
Yeah, I mean like the smart
It
move
gets
was
played
just
in Highlander, man. That thing's a house.
like the smart move was just to go and find Worm Coil,
Yeah, but
right?
you know,
but like I wanted to play other different rad cards.
I've seen this
Worm Coil Engine.
Steel Hellkite played in like big red, sometimes
Yeah.
mono black,
well,
and
like
occasionally just like mono brown.
it blows stuff up.
Yeah.
Actually, I think
No, it's sweet. That
this
card's
might
sweet.
get played in Legacy mono brown.
Yeah,
I almost want to say vintage, but I think that's wrong.
like when you have Cage Sun out, you can just blow a bunch of mana into it, right? I mean, like smart move was getting Worm Coil, but this guy was way fun.
All right,
It's
guys.
also got sweet art.
Last uncommon, Piston Sledge.
Clang clang.
Three, blah, 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 I can't speak. 3 colorless for an equipment. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to creature you control. So that's kind of sweet. So it automatically gets attached. There's no cost to do that. If you want to move it though, you have to sacrifice an artifact.
Kind of a drag, but like if it didn't automatically attach, this would be real terrible. But like, I don't know. It's kind of like Unholy Strength, only colorless.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, sacrifice again. There's, we just went past Sphere of the Suns, right? If you don't really have a way of recharging that after you use your 3 counters, then hey, you have a target.
Yep.
For moving Piston Sledge.
Or things like the Phyrexian Plank, draw a card when it enters the battlefield. When
I
it
really like the flavor
leaves.
text on this.
The Ichor Wellspring.
Yeah, Ichor
Yep.
Wellspring was in this
Planks.
format too, right?
Yep.
Only the goblins.
that
can
being
make
said,
simple things.
The idea of the Piston Sledge looks amazing. Like the
yeah.
art looks so good. All right, are we ready for our rare,
Okay.
Yes.
which is a mythic,
Oh, it's good.
Ooh.
and it's a card
You're
we've already talked about.
You're slow rolling.
I am slow rolling.
It's Worm Coil Engine.
It
isn't
is not.
No, Worm Coil was in Scars.
What would you like to say? A card again? We've already talked
I
about
don't remember.
Today?
today in this last 15 minutes. You're out. Hero of Bladehold.
Oh, got
Hero
there.
of Bladehold.
This card's good.
I didn't think she was a mythic.
Yeah.
Rad.
2
No, it's
white...
Katie Sackhoff. Hey, what's up?
Who's Katie Sackhoff?
Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, she's an actress. All right, so 2 white for a 3/4 human knight with Battle Cry, which I said earlier gives all other attacking creatures +1/+0 whenever this creature attacks. But whenever Hero of Bladehold attacks, put 2 1/1 white soldier creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. So when you play this out and attack with it next turn, she's attacking as a 3/4, and your 2 1/1 white soldiers are attacking as 2/1s.
Assuming you have no other creatures to attack with.
And they don't go away. They keep hanging out.
Yep.
So every turn you get to attack with
So
this thing,
this
you just
thing-
make more and more tokens.
It doesn't die to bolt, and if you don't deal with it, it's a real big problem in a big hurry.
Yeah.
So,
No, this card is sweet.
Yeah, I
like
think
this
if I
card
opened this
so
pack at a
much.
pre-release, I'd be
Well, that's your
pretty
first
happy.
pick.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
100%.
mean, if you're sealed, you're happy. You're pushing white, and if this is your pack 1 pick 1, you just slam Hero of Bladehold.
Yeah. The other one of not quite a cycle, but like the Hero of Oxid Ridge.
The red one?
is good. But he got super outclassed by Hellrider.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Hellrider's so
yeah.
good.
Hero of Oxide Ridge is now second banana to Hellrider.
Yeah.
which
Hero
is a
of
shame.
Oxide Ridge, by the way.
He's so good though.
Two
He's
red,
still
red.
really good.
2 red for a 4/2 with haste. Also has Battle Cry, and whenever it attacks creatures of power 1 or less, can't block this
I
turn.
forgot about that part.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really good.
Huh.
Yeah. This card is sweet.
Well.
Paul, you were going to say
Yeah.
something?
It's like tough luck, Mom.
Oh, I was just gonna say, have you seen the pre-release version?
The
of Hero?
alt art,
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. It was so much not as good.
Yeah, I don't like
Like,
it.
I like that it's a close-up, but crazy, lots of rib cage. I mean,
Oh God. Yes.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
man.
she does not. She.
Sigh.
I mean, the Mirans. They're having a tough time. They're not eating enough. Clearly.
Well, but they got plenty of shoulder and Batman armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, that horse must be so cold.
I think it would be super hot.
Oh yeah, because it would be sunny outside. It's like my thighs are turning into bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 5 suns, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot
Oh.
of suns. All right, guys. So that was the pack. Sweet pack. Thanks so
yeah.
much. Who was it? Mike, I think?
Mike at
Mike.
PAX East.
Mike, thank you
Yeah.
so much
That's
for
a good
the
one.
Hero of Bladehold. All right, so our main topic for today is brewing. Again, we're not going to talk about specific decks. Cam and Alex aren't going to sit here and go through their latest, standard or Highlander brew, but we're actually going to talk about the process in which each of them takes sort of the steps to brew a deck. So I guess we'll start with Cam. How do you begin the process of coming up with a deck?
I find a card that I think is sweet.
Right.
I'm shown a card that I think is sweet and that I want to play with. So whether that card, like last standard season, that card was Butcher of the Horde,
Right.
Oh.
right? More recently, it's been Merfolk, who awakens lands when you play a spell. What's his ass?
Royal Shaper?
Yeah, Noyandar Royal Shaper.
Right.
So like I find a card like that really kind of captures my attention and
Sings
makes
to
me
you.
want to do things with it.
Yeah.
And then step 2 is finding copies 5 through 8 of that in whatever format I'm playing in.
Yeah.
Because 4 of is good,
Yeah.
but it's hard to consistently build around, especially if you're doing a build around.
Right.
Because that generally means if you found a card that you're really excited to play with that does something odd and unusual, you are almost inherently not building a consistent deck unless it is specifically a card that makes your deck consistent. Which case you still want copies 5 through 8 of them.
Right.
So having a solid core of the cards that do something mechanically similar is super important for you. But like with Noyandar, the third step is finding the cards that play well with that card, right? Like with Noyandar, you want Jeskai Ascendancy, right? So that you can untap a bunch of guys who make mana for you and can continue to play out and also draw into new cards that will feed Noyandar. So what you do is, like, this example would be like, you play Anticipate into Noyandar, right? With a Jeskai Ascendancy on the table, you untap all your guys, right? But first, like, you awaken a land, so you get to untap it, make it bigger, and until you can start untapping enough lands that you can, like, just play through your entire deck.
So for you, it seems like you have a card, and then you go for synergy, right?
Yes.
You go for the most synergistic build that you can kind of put together.
Yes.
Which is unlike, because I know, another way that you could end up brewing a deck is having just, a good example is like a tribal deck.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the fun thing with the tribal deck is you start with your tribe, and then you just basically jam whatever sort of fits that idea into it, and maybe ignore the synergy aspect of it a little bit.
Well, not
Yeah,
necessarily.
well, I mean,
Not necessarily, but
like-
it's easy to do so, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into, and it's certainly, and this is a good lesson for this podcast, is synergy, especially within this game, is really important. If your
Mhm.
deck
Yep.
doesn't work as one, you're not going to win. And even if winning isn't your main goal, but having fun is, you still want to be doing, you still want to be having fun and making fun, like cool
Yeah.
plays. Whereas, like, I ran into this problem when I built my Snake Commander deck. And this was a couple years ago now, so my knowledge of the game has expanded. But I just basically were like, Gatherer and Snake, and add all the cards that say Snake. Done.
And just not even thinking about what snakes to put in.
Yeah, not thinking about what snakes to put in, not thinking about what non-snakes to put in, right? Like
Yeah,
just playing
honorary
Oh, yeah,
snakes.
like cards that, aren't necessarily good, but have something to do with Snake.
So
Like, even
you're
if it
really
doesn't actually
talking
make
my
sense.
language here, James, because that's sort of how I end up brewing decks. It's like I won't necessarily go with a tribal theme, but I will go with a theme, like an overall idea. Sometimes it's like based on a mechanic, which could be based on a card. Other times it is a tribe. Like I've built a bunch of tribal decks, or tried to, and the challenge you encounter building for Highlander is finding enough density in your tribe, because sometimes you just have to take a long, hard look at it and be like, there's not enough of this tribe in there. It's like,
Well, like I
whose
think
tribal doesn't work?
I like the classic example in Highlander is Merfolk Tribal,
Yeah, I
which
think
we've had like legacy and vintage players,
it's real good.
where Merfolk was strong, be like, all right, I want to put together Merfolk Tribal in Highlander, and be like, it just doesn't work,
Yeah,
right?
I
You've
mean-
got like 3 playable lords, and
And then the list dries up real
Yeah.
fast after
Yeah.
that.
So what's the difference between brewing a deck something like standard, where your card pool is A, much smaller, but B, also the number of playable cards in a standard deck is obviously much lower than a Highlander deck, right? With Highlander, you're brewing.
You go deep in the pool
You're going
sometimes.
super deep, and you're brewing 60 plus cards to make your deck. Whereas with a standard deck, you could have as little as like 12, 13 copies, or 12,
Well,
13
like-
individual cards, and then multiple
Yeah.
copies thereof.
well, like minus the basics, I've been brewing lately towards 36 spells, 24 lands, as kind of like a very loose and malleable, but still reasonable starting position,
right.
right? So at that point, you're looking at 9 different actual spells in the deck.
Right. I mean,
If
when
you're
you,
playing 4-ofs.
and so
right?
that was my next question is when you're brewing these standard decks, do you lean more towards playing a bunch of 4-ofs, or do you like playing maybe a bunch, like your 4-of sort of the build around cards? So for an instance, Noyan Dar
Right.
is sort of this season's card for you, and then looking for maybe copy 5 through 8 that has a similar effect. And then when you're filling out the rest of your deck, are you looking for 4-ofs of everything else, or do you like sticking in cards that aren't necessarily the best fit for the deck, but cards that you're going to have fun with playing?
There's actually quite a mix of both. In the Noyan Dar deck that I'm currently brewing, I've got Noyan Dar, right, 4-of. I've got Jeskai Ascendancy, 4-of. Those numbers may not actually be good.
Right.
And it's going to take a lot of playtesting because I don't actually have to play standard that often. And I also play things like, Dig Through Time, right? Anticipate, Wild Slash, Fiery Impulse.
Wild Slash, the $3 shock.
Yeah. But I'm playing one of things like Crater's Claws, because if there are situations in which I can dig through my entire deck while making 20 mana, that seems like a fine time to just blow someone away to the dome.
Sure.
Right? If I'm playing a lot of spells, I also want to be playing Monastery Mentor. Right?
Yep.
So I've got one of Monastery Mentor as an alt-win condition. I've got Soulfire Grandmaster in my deck. Because if I'm making a lot of mana and I'm playing Wild Slash, I can buy back Wild Slash off of Soulfire Grandmaster, and for 5 mana, if I've made 5 Awakened Lands,
Right.
I can just go infinite with that. Or
I-
go Degenerate with that, I
I
guess.
keep trying to get her into a deck. One of these days it'll happen.
She is really good with Ojutai Command. Ojutai's Command, because she gets blown away all the time.
Yeah.
But if you can get her back while also getting ahead, then you feel pretty good about things.
Yeah.
And I'm also running one of Myth Realized,
So
which seems like a fine thing to be playing with a lot of instants and sorceries. So, like I mentioned earlier with the Grand Architect deck back in Scars days, I like playing with a host or a suite of kind of like silver bullet cards that I can dig for and find the correct fit for the situation I'm in.
right.
So usually I will have of the 9 suites of spells that I can play, the 9 4-of slots I have, usually 7 or 8 of those slots will actually be 4-ofs,
Right.
and 1 slot will be 1-ofs,
One of.
right? Different kind of silver bullet payloads that I can go digging for when I need them.
Right. So in Highlander, you don't have that choice.
You don't have the quantity choice. You just,
Well, and every card is a one of.
yeah, it's in or it's out, and then you sort of assess cards based on like, I guess, trying to get multiple copies of something like an effect that's very similar.
To give
or
you that
just-
consistency.
Yeah, to get that consistency, but also like, you can play a lot of these silver bullets, and sometimes just like stack your deck with tutors to find those.
Mm-hmm.
So you're
Well, like-
talking about like non-tribal cards and tribal decks. It's like a deck that I've been working on for a while is black-green zombies, and you get a whole bunch of zombies in there. Some of them are pretty bad because you just have to like get your curve working properly. All the lords, some of the ones that are just good on their own,
Right.
and then maybe you want to put in like Fauna Shaman. 'Cause
Right.
She's
Yeah.
not a zombie, but she finds the other zombies.
Yeah,
Right.
and she can be an honorary zombie.
Yeah, and like other honorary zombies in this sort of loose theme of the deck could be stuff like Bloodghast or like Vengevine,
Mm-hmm.
or like Bloodsoak Champion, creatures that have zombie-like qualities.
Right.
Where it's just like, you know what, this isn't a zombie, but like I can put in a couple of these cards that are just really good
Yeah,
and
things like yeah.
incidentally synergistic.
Yeah. The other one I've seen crop up as honorary zombies and zombie theme decks is Squee,
Oh.
Really?
because he comes back from the
Because he
graveyard.
comes back from the graveyard.
I
That's
keep
interesting.
I keep trying to make him work in some, or I think about him because yeah, I've seen him in bombardment lists,
Yeah.
but he's just like 3 mana, and I
Yeah.
feel like I have way better ways. Like
I think he turns up in lists that do things like what's the enchantment in black where you pitch 2 cards, make a 2/2 zombie.
yeah,
Zombie infestation.
zombie infestation. Yeah,
Yeah.
Squee just seems really slow. Like I play in my aristocrats deck Carekeep
Mhm.
over this guy
Okay, yeah.
because like Carekeep is less expensive, it's faster,
hmm
and it makes kobolds,
Which are rad.
which are super rad.
So when it comes to, and this isn't really, it's not really a thing with standard because standard it's changing, it's rotating pretty often. But when it comes to brewing in Highlander,
Mhm.
are there a lot of cards that just sort of automatically make the cut because you're playing those colors? Like for instance,
Kind of.
you were talking about, so I mean we were talking about your black green zombie deck.
Yeah.
Because you're playing black green, does that just automatically mean that you're playing cards like I don't know, like
Usually-
Dark Confidant
Okay,
or Tarmogoyf?
Usually, yes. The arguments can be made that like there's a couple of suites of cards that you just play. Like in black green, you play Maelstrom Pulse and Abrupt Decay, and like Duress Inquisition Thoughtseize
Right.
and stuff like that. It's just sort of like a standard package of just like these are the good cards in black green, and you should play these.
Right.
Mhm.
But sometimes you end up cutting those. Like in again in Aristocrats, I cut almost all of those cards. Like there's no 1-drop hand attack because like the deck list is just crammed full of creatures and value effects. And then like the focus is way more on synergy
Mhm.
than anything. So not always, but if you're going for more of a good stuff approach, which is just like you play the best cards in whatever your chosen colors are,
Mhm.
then yeah, there are sort of arguable auto-include cards.
Right.
And it's just like
Right. Yeah, because like
something like 4-color blood, which is 4-color no blue.
Mhm.
is kind of like a rogues gallery of like all the best cards ever printed in a big heap.
Right.
And there's a lot of cards that you could call auto-include, and
Well,
it's
like-
just like all of them together.
4-color blood seems like it's the king of rip 7 and find out what your strategy is for the game.
Pretty much.
Right? You're like,
It's
I've
just-
got
It's
I've
just
got 3 mana
yeah.
and this, so like
The thing is that like it's even like that, it still has kind of a theme to it.
okay.
It like wants to play some mana dorks. It plays the best acceleration, into the best disruption, into the best threats.
Okay.
So it'll go like mana dork, like duress you, blow up your thing. Here's a planeswalker.
Right. So just
Or
like,
or like here's a Thrun, or here's
Okay.
a Siege Rhino, or here's a Bloodbraid Elf.
Hmm.
You know, it just plays all of those threats. It just like plays all the super hyper premium removal, all the like really best hand attack, and various little incidental like cards that get lots of value, like Dramoka's Command and like Colligan's Command.
right. Basically all like the it's the deck where you will hear somebody after the game be like, and then he cascaded into a Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah, I mean this is the deck that does that. So.
Yeah.
So like, value decks are really good. They're always going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I do really like brewing decks, which are arguably, well, not even arguably, they're just like on a lower power level, but sometimes it's just so cool.
Yeah, and
Like, I keep talking about this Aristocrats list. It's so fun to play.
Yeah. No, like
it
my
just
Aristocrat
does such
standard list.
cool things.
Yeah, I wish my Aristocrat standard deck could hang with
And-
4-color good stuff.
Yeah, I know. And,
because
and
it's so fun.
you also just like, in your search, which we should probably get into, in your search for cards, you come across some magnificent singles that like almost never get played. Like
Right.
my deck plays Brindle Shoat.
Yeah. Right.
What's a Brindle Shoat?
Right. It's a
It
1/1
was
for
printed-
green.
Yeah, it's 1/1 for 1 and a green.
Yeah.
When it dies, you get a 3/3.
Yeah.
In a deck that like sacrifices its creatures all the time, it's sweet.
Yeah.
This was printed once in a commander set,
Huh.
and it's an uncommon that's almost impossible to find.
Huh.
At least in our local community. I looked everywhere for it, and I ended up having to order it offline. But
what's up, Paul?
It was printed in Plane Chase 2012.
oh right,
Oh,
Plane
it
Chase.
was
Sorry,
Plane
yeah.
Chase.
I love the art on this for having like the boar. What's a baby boar called? I guess it's a shoat.
Stripling.
Yeah, but with the stripes on it,
Mm-hmm.
because they lose the stripes as they grow up, but they have the stripes when they're young, so they
I did
blend
not
into the
know that.
underbrush.
Cool.
Same reason that
Yeah.
same reason that a fawn is dappled.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, at this moment, I'd like to talk about like, well, so you have these ideas for decks, and you have, aspirations to brew. How do you figure out what cards to play? Well, there's a utility that is my number one choice when I start brewing. It's Gather.
Well, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
that sounds obvious, but
Right.
the advanced search function on Gatherer,
Mm-hmm.
when you learn how to use that, it's going to be instrumental in brewing decks, especially in Eternal formats, because like standard, you sort of know what the good cards are
Yeah.
because it's
But
only like
there
3
there are
blocks.
still like standard environments where not all the good cards are well understood or established.
But like for an Eternal format, you really do need to like
Hmm.
search deep into the archive and narrow your search by certain things. So, as an example, when I was brewing for my zombies list, I would go search for green or black in the color identity.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sometimes exclude unselected terms because sometimes it'll give you something that's green or black and also red.
Yeah. Yeah.
So green or black because you can set the syntax.
Yeah. Yeah. The
So green
the
or black,
Booleans.
CMC equal to or less than 4.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll sometimes go higher or lower depending on the deck. And you usually want to keep it pretty low for the most part.
Right.
And that chops off the upper portion of just like kind of garbage, like 5, 6, 7 drop, creatures and effects that like don't do anything. What else will I look for? I will sort after I've searched by popularity, which doesn't work as well as it used to,
Hmm.
because the gatherer search, it's screwed up so that any card that's unrated is rated 5 stars.
Oh, right. Yes.
So it
yeah.
throws all the numbers off. So you really do have to go through the whole list. It used
Yeah.
to be that people would rate cards, and if you sorted it by rating, you'd get a very loose approximation of what the most interesting
Yeah.
playables were. And so you just like go through the list, you look at the stuff, and you sort of like weigh it, and maybe you start like just throwing a list together, like of just things that look interesting, and then you can like comb through those a little bit more thoroughly later. And then like you can refine your search even further when you're like, okay, I need just removal spells. So it's like instants or sorceries that like destroy creature,
Right.
you know, or some stuff like that. And you can like reduce your CMC even further.
Um.
But like, yeah, there's lots of things to search for.
Yeah. Like learning how to use Gatherer is probably the most important tool in a brewer's toolkit.
And there's
Because-
weird, yeah.
well-
Sorry, go ahead.
Being able to establish the consistency in your deck
Yeah.
is critical to its ability to succeed or not.
There's also like beyond searching, there's certain things you need to be aware of. Like, it will sometimes trick you. Like if you're building an aggro deck and you're like CMC equals 1, power equals 2,
Hmm.
it won't show you the Unleash guy.
Oh,
The
right.
1/1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
his power is 1.
Cackler.
Yeah,
demon.
Rakdos
Rakdos
Cackler.
Cackler.
Rakdos
That won't
Cackler,
show up
yeah.
on the search, but it's a 2/2 for 1.
Yeah.
So you sometimes have to look a little bit further afield
Right.
for stuff. And just be aware of like little subtleties within the game. It's like
Mhm.
sometimes a creature will be more or less powerful or have like an effect you don't expect.
Hmm.
You
Well,
know?
like the deck that I've always wanted to be able to brew involves one of my favorite cards ever printed, which is Gifts Ungiven.
Yeah.
And I want to play Modern Gifts, which was a thing back when Deathrite Shaman was unbanned in Modern,
Sigh.
because then you could play it on 3,
Hmm.
right? And that was real important because a lot of the important things that you were looking for, like Wrath of God, were on 4.
Yeah.
Right? But every once in a while, I go back and I try to brew gifts for Modern, and it's just a little too slow, but it's such a sweet card
Yeah.
that I think it's worth playing even when it's not good. It's
Yeah.
one of the... Gifts Ungiven is a very odd card because everyone acknowledges that it's very powerful. Nobody likes to see it played against them,
Yeah.
but nobody knows how to make it work.
Yeah.
And I've seen a deck recently that did very well with gifts. It ran 2 of.
In Modern.
Yeah. And my instinct with gifts is to run 4 of, and then I think my last brew with it involved. And y'all are going to laugh at this because I guarantee you think it's a bad card, but Dimir Charm.
Okay.
I don't remember the modes on Dimir Charm.
Counter a sorcery,
Okay.
blow away something with power 2 or less,
Mm-hmm.
or look at the top 3 cards of you.
Target player's
yeah.
library.
Put 1 back and the rest into the graveyard.
Huh.
All right.
So it was a little like Forbidden Alchemy
Okay.
for 1 cheaper and 1 less dig,
Yeah.
but it had a bunch of other modes.
You know, like, brewing is all about using these completely sweet cards.
Yeah, well, and I talked with Wheeler about it.
Yeah.
And he actually said Dimir Charm was a card that was kind of critically underrated.
Well, sometimes you find that, and that's one of the delights of brewing for Highlander, is you get to play the cards, and sometimes they're really actually good.
Mhm.
Like, Highlander is the format where you throw in, a lot of the times, just like the all-stars of Legacy and Vintage and
Mhm.
Modern. And then all the cards that just didn't make the cut and are still super powerful.
Right.
You know,
Well,
it's
like,
like
when we talked about the strictly worse cube in Friday Nights, what we weren't talking about were things like 1/2s for 3 from
Yeah.
Fallen Empires. We were talking
Gross.
about cards like Condemn. And
Yeah.
cards like
cards that
well,
are, or like
all the sweet cards that you like that
Faith's Fetters.
yeah, all the cards that just don't quite make the cut in the list that you're building.
Yeah, but like in Highlander, you can play those cards, and
Mhm.
some of the time they're actually real good. And
Yeah.
you can even you can get away with throwing in a handful of pet cards in like a good
Mhm.
stuff deck or something, and have your deck perform great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes in doing that, you prove these cards to actually be like more real than people thought.
Yes.
Like I'm trying to think of some examples of like Highlander All Stars. Like there's like a green card. It's an elf with flash. It's like a 2 and a green. It has flash. When you play it, make a bear for every creature you control that died.
Hunt, no, Master of, no. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, we did it again.
Oh.
You guys are the worst.
I know.
Yeah,
All right.
no, we've done that like
Um,
4 times, so all the comments on this podcast are going to be like, this card.
But it's like an MVP in
Yeah.
some decks because they wrath you and you're like, lol, no,
Yeah.
it's bear time.
So, you mentioned just a minute ago,
Collar of the
Collar
Claw.
of the Claw.
Yeah.
Highlander All Star.
God bless Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
And whoever just wrote Collar of the Claw in the comments, if you could delete it, that'd be great. You mentioned a moment ago talking to Wheeler about some cards, and that's a local player, and I know that you and Serge often get together.
I get together.
And,
There's a
and,
few
and
people I
talk
brew
about
with.
it. How important is sitting down with other players and talking over these decks?
I find talking with people who actually play the game and who know it really valuable because they will be able to tell you when something is sweet and just kind of asymmetrical to the current meta and hasn't yet been fully exploited, and when something is bad.
Yeah. Well, here's what I do: is you brew from the heart, and then you revise the list from
You brew from the heart, and
your
then you
mind
tweak
and
from
someone
the
else's
minds.
mind. Yeah,
Well,
you tweak
it's
it.
like that ad, like, what was it, Hemingway, often misattributed, write drunk, edit sober.
Yeah, like having a second set of eyes
Yeah.
to just point out either the mistakes or traps. It's like, oh, this card looks so sweet, and they're like, I've played it. It's actually a trap, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a drag. Well, maybe
Yeah.
we cut it. But it's like, have you thought of this card? And you're like, I've never even heard of that card in my life,
Yeah.
and it's amazing.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah,
force-
because like brewers, we as brewers walk into traps every day.
oh yeah, there's so many trappy cards.
For example, I have been brewing with Noyandar. I think that guy is only going to be good, playable, functional when hopefully in Oath of the Gatewatch we get Boros and Is It Colored Manlands. And
I
if they're
feel like
cheap,
that'll happen,
I mean, like
but
I'm rating it at like 90%, 95, 99% that
Yeah.
we'll get the other 3 enemy colored manlands.
yeah.
I think he'll be quite good with those. The one that I'm desperately hoping to put together right now, because I have cards 1 through 8 of what I want to do with it, is the Part the Water Veil, Temporal Trespass, Time Walk, while incrementing a Planeswalker and just swinging in with little dudes while you are tapped out deck.
Yep.
So Part the Water Veil, you can either awaken like it is, take another turn and make a win condition.
Yeah.
And what I want to do with this is play like Monastery Siege to draw additional cards every turn, so you can draw into more take more turn effects.
Right.
And then Honored Hierarch and Rattleclaw Shaman.
For ramp.
Yeah, for ramp.
Cool.
Because they can both tap for blue. And other creature, since, as you may be aware, I am bitter about being talked out of buying Jaces when they were $5 because I got convinced that they were bad, even though I thought they were going to be
Never
good.
listen.
Never listen. Never listen.
Don't listen to anybody.
Is probably like Zephyr Scribe.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
like
okay.
a 2/1 for 3 that taps to loot
Mhm.
for blue and then untaps when you cast an instant or sorcery.
Cool.
Man, can you think of like the worst trap card that you ever tried to brew with?
Blood Chief
It's-
Ascension.
Oh man, like I still think it could be good
Yeah.
in Highlander, but I know what you mean. Like that card feels really trappy.
Yeah.
does everybody know what the hell we mean when we say what's
A
a trap
trap?
card? It's a card that it's like it looks super sweet, and in Magical Christmas Land, it's just going to be like wrecking face,
Yeah.
destroying,
And like,
and the
you
reality
resolve
is
it.
just not what
Yeah.
you want it to be.
Yeah, like you can just imagine the scenario where you resolve it and like blow up your opponent so hard that their deck catches fire and everyone
Yeah.
like stands around you going, "Oh," and then they pick you up on their shoulders and parade you around the
Yeah.
store.
But 90% of the time,
90% of the time
it
your opponent
will-
looks at it and goes,
eh.
Okay.
Or just it's in your hand.
Or just like
Yeah.
you top deck it at the end of the game and you feel so stupid that it's not a burn spell.
Yeah.
That having been said, I am going to be brewing with that again soon because it's going to go in mono black alongside Daxos's Torment,
"Oh,
which I'm excited about.
interesting."
It's like Black Ball Lightning
Yeah.
that maybe triggers a second time, but I actually think that card could be good because the mono black list plays a bunch of enchantment creatures.
Oh
on,
yeah, I
like,
saw
2
you.
mana.
You had this in your
I
in
think
your
this is good.
toolkit.
I think this card is good.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a trap, but I think it's good.
All right. Let's wrap this
Anyway.
up with one last question to you guys.
What's that?
Why do you brew?
It's super fun.
Bitterness.
Wow.
Utter-
Just complete
We have both
opposite.
ends of the
Yeah, just
spectrum.
both
Total
ends.
spite. Total
Just to-
spite
Just
and
total, like
Because
in
people told you were wrong,
because
and you
people
just
tell
want
you
to
that the
F
cards
them.
are wrong and you
Yeah.
want to prove them wrong, or
yes. Also, I hate net decking.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Echoing truth.
No, I brew because I don't like to win games. I don't know. I like exploring the configurational space
It's
of the game.
fun.
I find cards that are interesting, and that's why I play the game. Is like I want to go off with the cards that I like.
I might like brewing more than I like
That
playing.
I was
Yes.
just gonna actually ask
Yeah.
both of you that question because
because
I spend a lot of time with you guys, and I get the sense that you guys enjoy brewing and talking about Magic, and I think this is a case for a lot of people who love this game. Is that they enjoy playing, or they enjoy talking about it and building decks more than they do actually playing the game.
yeah.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, it's like I think I do, however, really enjoy my favorite way of playing, and like this is so hyper specific and like just like corner of my enjoyment sphere is like the way I play Magic now is I make a Highlander deck and I grind out a bunch of games with one opponent in an afternoon at YJ, and it's usually like Surge or somebody else, and it's like sometimes tournaments are not actually that fun.
Yeah.
Like they're okay, but occasionally, like I got raffle stomped on Thursday.
Oh.
Yeah, they
Which-
can. I mean,
which
they can be
sucks.
stressful and
And
Yeah.
yeah, they can be.
tilting and
Actually, like I had such an awful time like a few months ago because like I made it to finals and I was just a wreck. Like I was so strung out
Oh.
and I just lost.
No.
You know, because like I played really well to the last round, and then it was like, did I win Highlanders? Like, no, there's another round and you have to fight Josh Lane,
Oh.
who is basically like a Highlander god.
Yeah, that's like when the Balrog shows up.
Yeah, and
At
I was
the
just
end of
like,
Fellowship.
I feel nauseous.
Yeah.
So like that kind of sucked, you know,
Like,
because
I'd
it's
love
like
to-
I really wanted to win. I
To give
wanted
you
to
a
win so
sense
bad.
Of
But
who Josh Lane is. Our friend Serge played werewolf against Josh Lane, and Serge was one of the werewolves. And Josh Lane just looks at Serge and says, "Are you a werewolf?" And Serge is like, "No, no." And Josh says, "Who's the other werewolf?" And Serge's eyes look at the other werewolf.
all right.
man, yeah, but like the games I really like is when there's nothing on the line except like actually playing, and when
Well,
it's,
yeah,
and when it's
explore-
against
exploring the deck that you spent
yeah,
a lot
exactly,
of time
and it's
creating.
when it's against an opponent who I am friends with or just like enjoy playing with.
Mhm.
The games are fun, the banter is fun,
Yeah.
the plays are fun, and it doesn't matter if I win or lose.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as I don't get like crushed. Like the mistake I'll make is sometimes I'll like sit down and play against certain opponents and they'll like trash me and I'll
Mhm.
just be like, I just feel like crap now.
It's,
Yeah.
and it's not even, at least, you know, in the few times that I've sort of put together a deck myself in sort of the brewer's seat, It's not so much my opponent beating me. It's them just having no respect for what it is I was trying to do.
Yeah.
And it just makes you feel like crap. So for me, if there's one thing that you take away from this, it's if you go up, if you're not a brewer, if you're sitting at home and you're watching and you're a net decker, that's fine. We have no problem with that. You play the game how you want to play it, but
No, it's like we know net
respect-
decking is maybe the most effective way to build the winning decks.
respect not only your opponent but their deck. Give them the respect that they deserve because they spent a lot of time on that deck. You know, it's something that they sat down and they put together and they put a lot of themselves into it. And it sucks when you just be like, why are you playing that crap
It's like,
card?
why aren't you playing like a tier 1 list? I don't understand. It's like, well, maybe because I wanted to like do something different.
Like,
or,
I love sitting down at F&M across from a guy who's playing like the weird cards, and I'm like, oh, I thought about pulling together this list. Did you?
Yeah.
And like, I find myself asking them, did you put this in your list? And they're like, I shouldn't tell you that right now. And I'm like, oh, I shouldn't ask that question. Actually. But like, I get excited when I sit down.
It's actually nice sitting with another brewer, and sometimes like you'll flip a card. Like this happens a lot in Highlander. It's like you'll flip a card and they'll be like, "Whoa, so spicy."
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like this stuff that's kind of goofy, but like other times it's just like, oh, this is like especially when you put in something silly, maybe silly, and you just destroy your opponent with it.
Yeah.
It's like...
Isn't that what brewing's all about?
Pretty much. You're just like, void. And they're like, I'm sorry, what does that card do?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, guys.
It's good times.
I think that'll wrap it up today. Thank you guys for chatting about brewing. That was fun.
Yeah.
Go out there and brew yourselves, guys. Put some decks together, whether it be Highlander or Standard or Modern or Legacy or Pauper or whatever it is your format of choice. Go and do it. It's fun.
I also don't mind fielding questions on social media. So you can find.
Hit us all up on the Twitters.
Yeah.
And ask
Play
us
more
questions.
pack rats.
Show us your brews.
No
if
more
you would
pack
like.
rats.
Pack rats. And pack rats. And pack rats. And pack rats.
Oh,
So many pack rats.
no pack rat.
All right. As Cam convulses and slowly turns mad over here, I will let you know that Tap Tap Concede, along with all of our stuff, is brought to you by you guys over at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. And in fact, I will let you know right now that we are moving moon bases very soon, and there's some pretty cool stuff going on with that. We're putting up sort of a thank you wall to all of our Patreon supporters who have, over the course of their Patreon history, donated a total of $150 or more by February. So go and check out Patreon for that information. We'll get a blog post up and we'll put it down in the description below so you guys can know all of that information. But thank you so much for all of the support you guys give us. We really appreciate it. And we will talk to you next week. Tap Tap Concede.
Bye.